Alright, hi guys, welcome back. Sorry I kind of failed last week, but I'm feeling better this week, so hopefully I'll be able to actually give you a good vlog post. This is week 8, and we are talking about character inspirations. To segue into this, I'll go into a little bit about my story inspirations, which I was supposed to talk about last week, and I just couldn't figure out how to say it because it's really hard for me to talk about what inspires me because half the time I don't even really know. I just get ideas. They just come to me and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write. One thing that does inspire me pretty consistently is music. I listen to just about every kind of music, although mostly when I'm writing I go for more stuff that doesn't necessarily have lyrics, or I do like a lot of specifically Japanese J-rock, J-pop kind of music. But really I like a lot of music that's like international music, foreign languages and stuff, so that like the words can't distract me when I'm trying to write. I'm focusing only on the words going through my head. Yeah, because music, a couple things I focus on in writing is portraying emotions and characters. And music really, really inspires emotion in me. So depending on what mood I'm in or what mood I want to be in, that's the type of music I'll listen to get into the mood to write something, to go for a certain emotion that I'm trying to portray in a certain scene. But the other thing is characters. My writing is largely character-based, as I mentioned in my quote-unquote video last week. So, really, I think about 99% of my story ideas start with a random character idea. And again, where my characters come from is just as random as stories themselves when they're not character-inspired. Characters literally will just pop into my head. Sometimes I have a specific personality that I want to give someone, or I will get like a very vivid mental image of what a character looks like, or I'll come up with a name. That one's very rare. Rarely do I come up with a name until like much later, and I have to like labor over it and agonize over it, and finally eventually a decent name will pop in my head. I'm like, oh, that'll work. And then I have to wait for a while for a name to actually grow on me. But it's really interesting because I'll be working on, and this is where I get into a lot of trouble, because I'll be working on one story, and I'm trying to come up with a character to fill a certain niche. Or a villain, let's say. Or a sidekick, or just a random character. Sometimes I'll come up with the character, and then I really like the character in his own right, and I'm like, I want to make this character a main character. And so I'll kind of create a spin-off story based on that character, and that's kind of really how my story ideas spin out of control, and how I end up with so many. Because I end up loving all the characters I come up with, and I want them all to be main characters in their own right. So, yeah, it's interesting. So that's basically, I'll just, start off with some random inspiration for a character that I get. I start off, usually it's something in between, like a personality type I'm looking for, and a mental image that I'm trying to fill in. Usually it's, somewhere in between. I don't know exactly what the personality is going to be, or exactly what they're going to look like. And so then I kind of have to mess around with it, and that's where my drawing skills come in, because I'll kind of sketch the character out, and as I'm drawing them, and I start to figure out, oh, that's what they look like, and then eventually I figure out, oh, maybe this guy, oh, he looks like he's a jerk, or this guy, oh, he looks like he's a really nice guy, or someone who looks like he's kind of goofy and klutzy. So they just kind of build themselves, and then I take that and I go from there. As I'm sure any writer will tell you, I do not decide anything about my characters. They decide things for themselves. So I never say I develop a character. I say a character reveals things to me. I learn about them. I find out stuff about them. Most of the times when I'm writing, I have a character who has like a dark hidden past. I don't even know what that past is until they decide to reveal it at some point in the plot. And I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from? When did that happen to you? And so it's really interesting. I mean, seriously, my characters are like real people in my head, and it's interesting. But it's neat because you know, for me, that's like really the only way to write. If you're just completely creating these characters and deciding everything for them, it gets boring and it's not fun. I was talking to Janet one time, actually. I was writing a fanfic, and the way I was describing it to her, I actually got in a fight with one of the characters I was trying to write about, because of the scene, he was being so out of character. And I was fighting with him. I'm like, no, you wouldn't do this. And it, like, in my head, I could almost hear him arguing back with me. It's like, that's the point of this scene. And so it's interesting. I actually have, I sound like a crazy person right now, I'm sure. But yeah, I have arguments and stuff. But it goes to show, characters will do what they want to do, not what you want them to do. But yeah, I kind of, how it is when I have characters, yeah, I just kind of have to keep, like, poking and prodding at them until I figure out what makes them tick. And, again, listening to music comes into play a lot with characters. I know I've had a lot of, like, epiphanies regarding characters just when I'm sitting around listening to music, and all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, this song kind of makes me think of so-and-so, and I'll keep listening, and then all of a sudden something will just, like, pop into my brain, and I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? And then I stop and think about it, and I'm like, that really makes sense. Okay, now I understand why this villain is motivated to be evil, or why this person is doing what he's doing. And it's just interesting. I never go in with a character knowing fully who they are and how they react to something. And it's like, while I'm writing something, I'm figuring out as much of the characters and the storyline going through it as, like, someone would be when they're reading it. And it can be, like, hectic and confusing and drive me crazy sometimes, but at the same time, that's how I keep writing fun and interesting for me. I have no idea if this was coherent in any way, shape, or form. We're talking about the workings of my brain here, so it's probably not. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. Is I like to go for emotions and characters, and I sound like a crazy schizophrenic person who has a bunch of people running around in my head. That's kind of how I get character inspirations. They pop in and start living in my brain, and they're like, I'm just gonna live here now. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. Fun stuff. So, I'm excited. By the time you hear from me next week, it will be NaNoWriMo. And I'm actually doing it this year. Yay! I've never actually done it before. It's gonna be fun and interesting and crazy because I'm in school this quarter and I'm in an English class and I'm gonna have to write essays. And yeah. So, starting next week, we're gonna get all into, like, the writing process stuff to go along with NaNoWriMo. Yay! Yeah, so that's basically what I have to talk about this week. Fun stuff. Yeah, you know the drill. Come back tomorrow, see Emmy. And you guys have an awesome, awesome day. Have fun, keep writing, and just be awesome. Alright. I will see you guys all next week. Bye.